Buying a house should be exciting, right? But let's be honest, sometimes it feels like you're diving into a stress pool you didn't even know existed. From mortgage madness to buying the wrong house, it's no wonder people lose sleep over this decision. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 reasons people have anxiety over buying a house. Spoiler alert, you're not alone. Stick around because by the end of this video, you're going to feel way more confident about making this big decision. Welcome to my page. I'm Brian Quinlan. I'm a realtor in Indianapolis. I specialize in helping especially first-time homebuyers, people who are stressing out right now over whether or not to make this big decision and all the decisions that come along with it. I'm a former educator and I love sitting down with people and talking to them about the process so they can get into this big life change, hopefully feeling a little bit more comfortable. Let's get into these 5 reasons. Number 1 is fear of overpaying. Now I get it. This is, for the most part, the biggest financial decision that you're going to have to make. You may have bigger ones in the future. Hopefully that's for a bigger house. But right now, this first house is a big financial decision. It's going to feel weird when you see large amounts of money being transferred back and forth, especially if you're not used to that kind of thing. There's really no definitive way of knowing whether or not you overpaid for a house. When it comes down to it, paying for a house should fit into what you are comfortable and able to pay in a monthly mortgage on a month-by-month basis. Now, unless you're paying for cash for a house, which most people aren't, you're going to get a loan. With that loan, you're going to have mortgage payments, which here in Indiana include your taxes, your insurance, and the mortgage payment for the house. All of that goes together into one payment that you make on a monthly basis. As long as that payment fits into a budget that you're comfortable with, you're really not overpaying for the house. Now, what a lot of first-time homebuyers don't understand is that in the history of home ownership, the value of homes has gone up every year. Sometimes, traditionally, home values increase at the rate of about 3.5% to 4% every year. Back in 2020 through 2022, we saw record home value appreciation into the 20% range. Now, those people are lucking out by having what's called equity in their house, which means they own more than they owe. And that just keeps going up as the value of your home increases and you pay off your debt over time. But you can pretty much count on the high likelihood, not a guarantee, but high likelihood that the value of your home is going to increase by 3.5% to 4% on an annual basis. Now, if you're going to buy a house and you're worried about overpaying, make sure that you're thinking you're going to be in the house for several years. I would say at least 3 or more. If your thought is to buy a house and after a year or 2, you're just going to sell it and get out and move on to somewhere else, I'll be honest with you. I don't think home ownership is for you because there is a chance you will wind up losing money. Because what you don't realize now, that when you go to sell that house in the future, you're going to have things you have to pay. It's not just all money coming into you. You're going to get that money to pay off the rest of your mortgage. Then you're going to have realtor fees, you're going to have taxes, you're going to have other costs that come into it, and not all that money comes into you as profit. And if it's only been a year or 2, it's not going to be very significant. So plan to be there at least 3 or more years, and you're going to see a financial gain over time. Number 2 cause of anxiety is commitment anxiety. So you're signing a mortgage most likely for 30 years. Yes, you can have varying degrees of longevity of payment for your mortgage. 30 is probably typical, especially for new home buyers. You can get anywhere in between essentially 5 and 30, sometimes even a 40-year mortgage. The longer your mortgage term is, more likely you have a lower payment. And that's why a lot of first-time homebuyers wind up getting a 30-year mortgage, which means you have 30 years to pay that off. Statistically, a 30-year mortgage never ultimately gets fully paid off before someone sells the house. So you are likely, again, statistically, going to be in the house for anywhere from 7 to 9 years, which means you're not going to pay off a 30-year mortgage in that time, most likely. So don't stress out. Don't let anxiety creep in because you're signing a note for something that's going to take you 30 years to pay off. All of that works out when you go to sell that property later on. Number 3, and this may be more during the process of buying a house, is losing out on the deal. Now, in the ultra competitive market that we had from, again, 2020 through 2022, there were multiple offers on homes. Sometimes, I dealt with deals where there may have been 15 to 20 different offers on one house. When it comes down to it, the homeowner can only accept one of those offers. They could take a backup offer, but if the first offer doesn't fall apart, then the backup offer is meaningless. So yes, there is a chance you're going to have competition. And with more buyers in the market than there are homes for sale, it's very likely that you're going to have a competition. If you're looking at a house in a very nice neighborhood or in a sought-after city, then you're likely going to have more people who want to live there. And if the home is in the better condition that the home is in, the more people are going to want to live there. So you're going to possibly be in a multiple offer situation. Hopefully your realtor has some tips and tricks for you to try and make your offer stand out versus the others. But in the end, it's going to come down to what the seller wants most. Sometimes it's they want the most possible money. That's, you can probably assume, is what most people want. But sometimes it comes down to being able to close quickly, whether or not it's a cash deal or someone getting a loan for it. Whether or not there's flexibility with closing. Does it have to be on a certain day, or can you let the seller stay in the house for a couple of days before they need to move? There are a number of factors at play, and hopefully your realtor will sit you down and talk to you about making the best possible offer that there is. In the end, you really don't have much control over that situation, and as I like to tell people, let's not freak out about things that you can't control. Number 4 is neighborhood concerns. Everyone has the reasons for why they pick where it is they want to live. Proximity to family and friends, churches, schools, neighborhoods. You want to be in a particular city. Maybe you grew up in the area and you just want to stick around that area. Maybe your job is transferring you into this area and it's somewhere that's close to where you work. Whatever reason, neighborhoods can cause some stress. Now, I've met with lots of buyers who say, oh, I don't want to live in a place with an HOA. Well, honestly, not all HOAs are bad. I would actually say the majority of HOAs are actually very positive. The main goal of an HOA is to look out for the neighborhood. You don't want to live in a neighborhood, most likely, where people don't take care of their lawn or their property. They're parking abandoned cars in their driveway for months and months at a time and they don't move. People have multiple cars in their driveway. People have loud music or god-awful paint schemes or whatever. All of those things affect the resale value of the house you want to buy. An HOA most likely can limit some of those things. Yes, they can be restrictive. There are certainly HOAs that are very restrictive and they assess penalties to homeowners or whatever, and that's the kind of thing you want to investigate in advance. Also, I don't want this all to be about HOAs either. Look around the neighborhood when you are there looking at the house for the first or second or third time. Do the neighbors take care of their property? Do they have rusted out abandoned cars? Do the cars in the neighborhood look nice? There's a number of things to be on the lookout for when you're in a house, not just the house that you're looking at, but look at the surrounding area. Do your due diligence. Look at crime reports. You can get all of that through Google and see what type of crime rate there is in that particular neighborhood or that city or whatever. Again, as you're in the neighborhood, look around. Do you see kids playing, riding bikes? Do you see families out? Do you see people cutting their grass or trimming their trees? Possibly there's a neighborhood pool or neighborhood playground. Are those things well cared for? These are all things that you want to consider as you're going and looking at the house, and hopefully it's going to make you more comfortable about the home that you're going to purchase in the neighborhood in which it will be. Now, before I get to number 5, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and please share this. If you're not the person who's going to be looking for a house, but you know someone who is, please share this information. It's good advice. Number 5 is not understanding the process. Like I said at the beginning, As a former teacher, I specialize in working with first-time homebuyers. I like to sit them down before we ever go and look at homes, and I will explain the entire home buying process to them from start to finish so that they know what they're getting into before we even go step foot in one house. It's their time to be able to answer questions, and I'll be honest, it's a lot of information that I'm giving them, but I don't expect them to remember all of it when it comes to each part of the process as we go along. But at least they've been exposed to it up front so that when it comes time to writing a purchase agreement or talking about an inspection later on, at least they can look at me and say, oh, well, I kind of remember you talking about that, but can you refresh my memory? So you want to work with a realtor who's going to explain the process for you before you get started and be there to answer questions and maybe reapply those things as they come about through the entire process. Talk about the contract before you write one. Then when it comes to writing one, make sure that you understand as the person who is signing it, what it is that you are signing, because answering your questions is maybe the most important thing that a realtor should be able to do for you. Be available and be able to answer your questions when they come up. Buying a house doesn't have to feel like an emotional roller coaster, at least not one that you're riding alone. Hopefully, these 5 reasons for homebuyer anxiety aren't as scary now that we've gone through them. The key, be prepared, stay informed, and work with people that you trust to help you through the process. Do me a favor and drop the biggest home buying concern that you have in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer that for you. Thanks for watching.